Yeah,
All right,
I just keep
hello
it steady on
everybody.
the
Welcome
magic.
back to
Do
the
my thing, I'm
Uprooted
healing, it's
podcast.
fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna just have
If I
some
fall,
good
rise
conversation
automatic.
about some good
You ain't
topics
on
with
that,
good
you
people.
know. I'm the one raise myself like a tree from the roots. West side girl, cause she lit in the coast. East side girl when she speaks to the roots. Stay 100 cause she on with the truth. Been there on struggle, know that it pass. Only going up, yeah, the pain don't last. Ooh, take off. Ooh, take off. Ooh, take off. This is take off, take off, take off. Shorty like Brandy, fight like Monica. What you know about her? Baby girl rising, wet at the top. Shaking the world, don't expect her to stop. Purpose so great, she get what she got. Follow her step, cause she following God. What you need more, got a heart full of gold. Even at times when it's raining and cold. Ooh, she bout take off.
Hey, it's your girl Hannah, aka Rootout. Welcome back to the Uprooted podcast. Today I have a very interesting episode. Gonna be introducing you to a friend, Kassaye. We're gonna be talking about adoption. She was adopted after the last famine in Ethiopia, specifically Tigray, in 1985. So this should be a really good episode. I'm so glad that she agreed to be on, and yeah, it's gonna be fun time. So make sure you're adding your friends. Hey, outside Hafte. Just make sure you adding them. This is like this is gonna be a dope episode. So I'm gonna wait for her to join. But until then, how y'all doing? How's everybody's day been going? Everybody's week? Y'all doing okay? Make sure y'all stay strong. I know this whole last year was crazy. What's up, Simone? Hey, Rebecca. Let me see if I could get to my girl Kassaye. And I hope y'all doing good. But yeah, today we're gonna be talking about, just sharing her adoption story. And I heard it. It was amazing. Man, so excited.
Hello.
How are you? How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, Lily, how are you, hun? There are some people in the comments. Everybody, welcome Kassaye. If they don't know you, now they do. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm getting there. I feel like I've been cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, so I'm like tired. But it was like a nice break from all my emails and meetings. I didn't have a meeting today. I was like, wow, life feels so weird without a
Yeah,
meeting.
always. Yeah, you're always in meetings.
Yeah, so I was really, really thrown off, but then it was kind of like gave me time to actually look around my house and like notice what I've been neglecting. So that was nice, but yeah, I mean, after this, I'm gonna go get back into working, but I took the whole day off, so I think it's okay if I put in like an hour or two. Shouldn't be too bad. But for everyone who doesn't know you, because I can get real comfortable real fast, do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself and where you're from, and then we'll get into like the bigger topic.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kassaye. I'm from Montreal, and I'm an adopted person from Ethiopia, and I'm a mother. I have a 2.5-year-old son. I just put him to bed. I'm hoping that he won't like scream, but he might.
It's okay. You're a mom. You're a mom. It's completely fine. But hey, yo, Canada's in the building. Canada, stand up. I know my girl Faye was so excited. She was like, yes, she's coming on. I was like, yeah, girl. So big shout out to the Canada team. I know you guys are working hard. Do you want to plug the page?
Yes. United Tagaru, Canada. They're amazing. I'm so proud of everybody. Yeah, Febu, there she is. And I think I saw, I think, anyways, I think they're going to come on. But yeah, amazing. Max there. I'm so proud of us. Really, we're a great team.
Dope. Oh, you're cutting up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I hope it's not the Comcast coming for us again.
Yeah, sometimes my internet's weird.
Okay. We gonna blame Canada. We're gonna say Canada. You know, last time this happened, they were like, "Oh, Abby's messing up your life." I was like, "We ain't even talking about nothing." But yes. So first and foremost, I feel hella dumb. I was saying your name. In my mind, your name was Kassaye because I kept spelling it like Cassie, you know. But you pronounce it Kassaye.
Well, I pronounce it Kassaye. It's not the proper way to pronounce it. I think the real way is Kassaye, like a hard K sound. But I just think,
hey, it's your name. As someone with two names, I don't think I have any any room to talk. So that's how you want to say it. That's how you say it. So firstly, let's talk about what it even means, like, to be adopted. Like, what was that journey like for you? Because you had a very interesting journey.
Oh. I think that it was, I don't know, you kind of just adapt to it. You know, like I was adopted when I was a baby. So, you know, it's like kind of normal. And just, I think for me and probably for a lot of adoptees, you just kind of, it's just your normal. And I think what happened for me is it was only when I was a young adult that I sort of realized like that there were certain things that I was, I guess, suppressing, because I think as a kid, like kids are very adaptable. And I think with me, it was like, I didn't have a connection to Ethiopia. You know, it was like, I think we'll get into it, but my adoption was pretty shady. And so for me, it was just like, I had a shady story and there were no answers. So it was like, okay, I can't do anything. I just have to accept. But then when I was an adult, I started like having like identity issues and like all my stuff kind of came up, and that was hard to deal with because I was like, why? Like, this is a waste of time. I don't want to care about this. And it's just kind of big, you know, I was like, I just want to have fun. Like, come on.
Okay, wild teenagers, you feel me? That we all go through it.
Yeah, but it was like my 20s, you know, 20s, you're in school, like, you know, I was like trying to travel, have fun. And I mean, I did that stuff, but I think like the feelings that I had and, they just kind of came to the surface. And so, I struggled a lot. But I struggled kind of in isolation. I think it was, and I don't really know how many people knew because I didn't really know many adoptees. Until I was 26, where it was funny because I was at a feminist like library at the university that I used to, and I was going through a breakup, and I was like, oh, you know, like I need
the breakups will put your life back. Like you will start thinking about things you were never thinking about after somebody breaks up with you or whatever. Your heart is broken.
Oh yeah, because you know it was like that person was like my connection to like Africa, like. You know, even though it was not a good relationship, it was like, I don't know, a lot of things came up. And so I was like, let me just go to the library and just, it's kind of an alternative library. And I was looking at books and like the book on adoption. And I always like plug it because it's called Outsiders Within, Writing on Transracial Adoption.
Okay.
I'm probably making them money because I talk about it all the time because they really deserve credit because it was eye-opening for me to read that book. So I was like looking. I was like looking at the books, and that book literally like fell on my hand, like it and I was like,
that's not by mistake, sis. That is not by mistake.
No, it was like serendipitous, and so I was like, because I hadn't really, you know, I studied political science and you know like relations. That was sort of like, well, I studied many things, but that was like what I graduated in. So, you know, I was like very political and but I hadn't really thought too much about adoption as like a political experience. And then I read that book and it was perfect because it mixed like the personal and the political. It was a bit academic, but there was like poetry, and it was all like right color, black, Korean, Chinese, Vietnamese, And it was just like, I mean, I was like, I was reading it, and I didn't eat for like 2 days. I was like,
Oh
like
no.
it was really like, it really hit me. And so it was like, that sort of started my journey into, trying to connect with adoptees, and trying to like sort of figure things out, I guess.
Yeah, like
Yeah. So
kind of. Actually, let's back up, because I think sometimes we get too comfortable because we've already talked. So those in the audience are like, what are they talking about? So if you're joining, so what we're talking about is your like right now in this current context, we're talking about your journey to like start digging into your identity more. But let's take
yeah,
it back a little bit. So
yeah,
we talked about like you had said your adoption was a little bit shady. I think everybody's like, what does that mean, right? So for context,
I'm trying to figure
this
it out.
is Ethiopia is currently at war once again. This is a reoccurring theme in the country. This time they are specifically at war with the northern region Tigray, right? And back in the 80s, there were, still war, and there was a famine. Again, rinse and repeat. And so during that time, you were born, and there was a moment in which your family traveled. So do you want to pick it up from there and kind of like lay that out for everyone who isn't a little bit more aware?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for chiming in.
No,
So
I got you, sis.
yeah, sometimes I go too fast. So yeah, the story is very shady. I do not have many details, but what I was told, and this part I believe, is that my family, or like my mom, and anyway, she was traveling from the north. I don't know what part, but
Mm-hmm.
she was in Ibanat, which is like a couple of hours outside of Yonder. There was a feeding camp,
Mm-hmm.
which it was, I guess, World Vision, but there was other like Western like what NGOs that were giving out food.
Yeah,
So it was basically like a refugee camp, but for internally displaced people. So
got it.
that's how my mom arrived, and the story is she had me there, and I don't know what else happened. I mean, like they say that she died, but I don't actually believe it, but it could be true.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, yeah. Yeah, that's the story. My mother was
You want
traveling.
to Yeah, I was like, take a pause, because
Yeah,
you just said something very profound, right? Like you're used to your story at this point. You're used to that because you grew up with it. But I want everyone else to understand what that would feel like. For 2 seconds, put yourself in her shoes. Like, imagine that you don't know anything about your family, and it's just what people tell you, and like that's all you have to go off of. And then you're in a horrible situation. This is not like a friendly like place that you're going to, oh yeah, we're just going to go to get food. No, no, no. Like a famine is a devastating thing. So I just
yeah,
wanted to pause because I don't want people to just bypass that. Like that is already trauma. Like
yeah,
before you're even a fully aware of anything that's going on to you, you're already experiencing trauma.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she was leaving her land and in search of food. That's like
Yeah.
awful. Um, and so I don't really, like, that's a crazy thing. I don't really know how it happened, but I ended up in a makeshift orphanage. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really an orphanage. It was a place that they were keeping children, babies.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. So what I was told is from the humanitarian worker that facilitated my adoption. So
Yeah.
she said that she heard about me through an Ethiopian humanitarian worker who was a social worker. The woman that helped adopt, she wasn't a social worker. She was like photographer or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So she said she told my parents that yeah, like this Ethiopian social worker had like, she knew about me, and she was like concerned about me, and so
Mm-hmm.
the my parents' contact, she organized my adoption, because I guess, like, because they're all like church people, and so
Yeah.
she heard from, I guess, I don't know, my parents wanted to adopt. So that's like, I guess, like, that's the story. But I mean, you know, for me, it was just like, my mom didn't really know the details. Like, that wasn't really communicated to my parents. And I don't know, I guess they didn't really ask questions. Like, I don't
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on in their minds. So basically, you know, as a kid, it was like my parents were always honest with me, and they told me,
Yeah.
like, which is kind of crazy, but they told me, like, like your mom, like, she died of starvation. Like, that's what they told me, but it was never in like you know, it was.
That's such a big statement to say. Like,
Yeah, well, they didn't say it like that, but my mom did say it. But you know, like, as a kid, like, you know, she would, you know, she would have moments with me, like when she would put me to bed, and she would, like, you know, lock me, and she'd be like, you know, like, I wonder, like, you know, like, your mom probably loved you, like, your mom loved you, and, you know, like, your mom had it, and like, she did it in a way that was very it was very a good way. And I tell people, like, don't, like, tell the children the truth. I mean,
yes.
that sounds really harsh, and to me, like, I think, like, would I tell my son something like that? But the way that my mom said it, and the time that she was, it was never like, it was just kind of normal to me. And it was like, so for me, it was just kind of like a fact. And so I think, like, I guess when I talk about it, it kind of sounds like nonchalant. It's just because, like, I always knew it, and so it was always sort of like a fact. But in reality, it might, like, I mean, it might not even be true. That's a crazy bit. Now
and
that
that's
I'm
like, and that's insane, because it's like you're given a story, right? But it's not one that you wrote for yourself. And it's also being told to you by people who don't look like you. So that adds another layer of, like, you know, as a child, you're not really questioning that as much. But as you get older and you learn more about the world, which is where we were, so we can pick back up there, it's like you're starting to have questions about things and you need answers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, for me, it was like, okay, like, this is like the story. And then when I was a little bit older, when I was in my early 20s, I went to Ethiopia. I think the first time I went, I was like 22. And so I got in touch with, like, the woman. She lives in the States now, and I was trying to ask her questions about, like, do you know the place? Do you know? And like, she didn't really, like, she couldn't really tell me locations. And I did actually get on, I think, like, a Skype, because that's when we did Skype, like, way back.
Before Zoom was a thing. Hey, Skype really dropped the ball. But that's a talk for another day. That's a talk for another day.
But so then she did kind of, like, break down and tell me, like, I feel really, like, sad that, like, I didn't get more information. But it was kind of weird, because I was like, it was strange for me, because I was at that point too, like, I didn't know how corrupt adoptions were, because I was like, I guess 22 or 23, and I was like school, like, friends, like, I wasn't really, like, even though I had these identity issues, for me it was like adoption stuff was like, I don't want to deal with it, but I was trying to get some information. So all that to say, I didn't really, when I was talking with her, I didn't realize, like, how her, like, how she was, like, what that meant. It was only after where I tried to get more information, and then I was like, whoa, like, this is, like, now I know why she was crying, because, like, she was realizing, like, yeah, I kind of fucked up. Sorry, I shouldn't say the F word. I don't know, for people who
it doesn't bother me. I was like, it does not bother me, sis. Do not worry.
Yeah. But I think that's because it was sort of like, I think she also realized, like she's coming back and looking for answers. So she didn't really have, like, names of places. And so I didn't really have answers. And so then I was like, fine. And then, I was busy with school. And then I guess around 26 when I started to get more interested. After I found that book, Outsiders Within, and was like, whoa, adoption is like, that's when I started asking more questions. And I asked her the same questions. And one thing actually I did forget to mention that she told me, she did say something about like my dad, like being there, but like leaving the camp. And, but like, cause he couldn't take care of me. And I was like, I didn't even believe it. Cause I was like, I think like it's been like 20 years. Like that can't be true. Like my didn't tell me that. So that kind of like went over my head because it makes sense. So yeah, she didn't really have more answers to tell me. And, you know, I started getting more involved with adoptees and learning about just like the issues. I started meeting more Ethiopian adoptees, and I actually connected with another Ethiopian adoptee who's now like one of my best friends. My best friend.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah, she's amazing. Like, and yeah, I started like, you know, like talking about adoption, getting invited to like write about it, and like the adoptees.
Oh wait, don't pause. Wait, pause. Go ahead and tell people you have a blog.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I have a blog. It's Kassaye .com. Well, my website. But if you go, there's a section like adoption work, and if you go there, you'll see like a list of like different writings that I've done. I did a podcast for a year called Out of the Fog, which I'm proud about. It's like I'm proud, not just like, oh, I did great work, but like the guests that we had on that podcast were like, I mean, I cried every time I did the interviews. Like, oh, like very profound. And it was fun too. There was like music because I did it with my friend who's an adoptee activist, but he's actually not adopted. He's like first generation Vietnamese, and he's amazing, Pascal. So yeah, definitely check out of the Fog podcast. You'll learn more about adoption. Then, so yeah, I started really getting involved. And like the thing is with international adoption, the people who are have sort of paved the way are Korean adoptees, South Korean, because adoption started with them in the 50s, I guess, after the Korean War. So there's like so many Korean adoptees, and they like, I mean, they're amazing. Like, they really fought hard to get their voices heard, and they published like the academic research on adoption has been done by actually, because the thing is, I mean, now they're like in their 60s now, so they're you know, they're older, so you know, the younger generations, like, we're kind of like building on the work that they've done for international adoptees. I mean, other adoptees have been like publishing, but like international, like, because the thing is, you have to understand about adoption and adoptees is that like the things that we have to say are not really what people want to hear. So there's constantly pushback, you know. Because
you shared oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you had shared some interesting like statistics with me that I had never considered, and I'm gonna just kind of share them with everyone here too. Oh, and it was just like insane. Well, one, when we were first talking, you were saying like how you were the only Ethiopian adoptee that you knew in your area, like in Canada, and that like was like mind-boggling, because like I could just feel how isolating that would be. And then you kind of shared with me that 32,000 Ethiopian children were adopted from 2003 to 2018. And that was just like, when I thought about like the number, that like that's a big number. Like that is a big number. And I know that eventually stopped in 2018 because of the issues around it. And there was a couple of other things. So can you kind of like lay that out? Because we also talked about how that impacted like mental health issues too, as you're speaking about like kind of this whole like idea, you know what I mean, of a interracial and international adoption.
Yeah. So the thing is with adoption from Ethiopia, it started like late 60s, and it was Sweden. Sweden started.
Yeah.
I think like they were the main ones, and most adoptions happened like beginning 1970s, and then
Mm-hmm.
like and then maybe I don't know like if it's because of like the DERG or whatever, but in the 80s there wasn't that many adoptions. Like to Canada, like I don't know, like I think I know of like one other person who was adopted from Ethiopia in the 80s, like to Canada.
Yeah.
I don't know any other person. And even for me, like my adoption was a private adoption. Like it was
Yeah.
not an agent. It was like just a humanitarian worker that like coordinated my adoption unethically through it.
Uh-oh.
But the work.
You froze up a little bit. Uh-oh. Not the Comcast Wi-Fi. Okay, you're coming back. You're coming back.
Okay. Is it okay? Is it working? Okay.
It's just moving a little slow.
Okay. Yeah, I have to fix my internet, I think. So yeah, adoptions from Ethiopia to France, that kind of picked up in the late 90s, mid to late 80s, and then in the 90s, France, like there was a lot of adoptions. My internet.
Oh no! I was like, you were doing. Okay, I see. I can see you clearly now. I don't know what you just did, but I can see you now. So what the last thing I heard was France in the late 80s, right? Early 90s?
Yeah. So France started sending more. No, Ethiopia was sending children to France mid to late 80s, and then a lot and then like the states started like adoption went crazy in the 2000s. And to different places in Europe as well, like like Belgium, Spain, Italy. That was like more mid 2000. So there's been different waves of adoption to Ethiopia sending children abroad. But the thing is that like the parents, like a lot of the times they don't know what's happening. Like they were lied to, and I mean it is like 30. Like what is? Did I say 32,000? Like that is like it's child trafficking, and there's even terms like they call them harvesters, like literally like people going into villages and like telling the families like send your kids, they're going to get a good education, they're going to come back. So that was, I mean, that's always worked though, because when I talk to Swedish adoptees who adopted in the 1970s, they have the same stories that people adopted in the 2000s. So that's working forever. We'll take your kids. We'll take your kids. They're gonna be well taken care of.
Yeah.
And so that is, I mean, the thing is like it's just like it's poverty.
Yeah.
And it's people feeling like they don't have any other option. And so and the thing is that it's not just that, it's that there's a demand, because even after like Angelina Jolie adopted her daughter, it was crazy. So the thing that you have to understand about adoption is that it's very much influenced by demand. And like when Ethiopia like the thing is with adoption is that when one country closes their doors, another country opens their doors. So as like the Ethiopian government was cracking down on adoptions, Uganda, people started going towards Uganda. And so Uganda is like, it's just like, babies getting stolen left and right. So again, the idea is to give people resources so that they can keep their children. Like,
Yeah.
That is the big thing. And for me, like, I do talk about issues that adoptees have, but I also really want to put focus on that, you know, when people have what they need, they're not going to give up their children.
Yeah.
You know, like, or like, it's just like, who, like, can you, like, I have a son. I wouldn't give him up. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, but then it's like, well, maybe if I didn't have anything to eat, and people were like, your son is going to like get a education. Maybe, I don't know. Like, if I didn't understand adoption, if I didn't have access to education, I might. So, you know, and these parents, like, we never hear about them. Like, they suffer a lot. Like, there's so much shame. A lot of them live with, like, you know, like, mental health issues. Like, there's been some social workers from Addis Ababa University who've done research on moms, and it's just, it's like, it's awful. Like, you just like read the, like, I mean, I don't really like reading like master's theses, but like, I loved reading what they wrote, even though it was painful, because it's like,
it is like, I'm over here just like, I've already heard it, like, I've heard you tell me it, you know, but it's just like putting it, I think now that I actually have time to fully process, I'm like, wow, like, this is just wild. There's also a question for you. My sis at Tagadu Link Up said, is there a specific reason why Ethiopian children are always the ones people want to adopt? Man, yeah.
Well, so in a way, yes. So the thing is, I mean, yeah, I like that question, because people who want to adopt, they always want to adopt babies, because because the idea is like, the babies are a blank slate, you know, and also sometimes it's easier to adopt internationally, is domestically, because there's always that fear that the parents are going to come back, because like,
that makes sense.
Huge, because the thing is, when you want to have a family, a lot of the times it's like, you want your family, you don't want like that some people are changing, though, like, you know, because now adoptees are like kind of pushing on that. But I think that adoption from Ethiopia was attractive because it was, to be honest, it's cheaper. It was cheaper, fast.
Yeah, I've heard that. There's less obstacles to jump through.
People want to adopt healthy kids. Like, oh, it froze.
Yeah, I was just saying too, like, I always saw, like, whenever I would go visit in the summers, I would always see like missionaries or people coming to adopt children from Ethiopia, and it used to drive me nuts. I'm like, there's so many kids in your country that need help and support, but they are willing to hop on a flight to go to a different country to take a child out of that country. It just like was always mind-boggling to me. And I was like, is the case that you want children, or is the case that you want children that you can kind of control and manipulate? You know what I mean? Like, I was always just a little bit hesitant about them, because I'm like, you know, somebody put it in the comments about this whole white savior complex, and I've always felt that way personally. I know that there are people who do it for good reasons, right? Like, maybe they went on a trip to Ethiopia and they fell in love with the kid, and they, you know, whatever the case is, and you kind of romanticize the story. But it just was kind of always mind-boggling to me. And then I know, like, when I was talking to you, I was just thinking like, how jarring it would be. Like I was saying, like, as a diaspora, right? I immigrated here with my parents, and that was a lot. Like, that was a lot to understand. You know, my parents don't know this country. They had like their struggle with it, but at least we were all together. And then I was like, for you being adopted, it's like you're looking around and nobody looks like you. Like, there's parts of your identity that you can't just ask your parents about because they're not there. And so it's like the experience of being displaced is already like difficult to get through, but to not even have a choice in it, you know what I mean, is kind of mind-boggling to me.
Oh yeah, exactly. I think for me, like, you know, I mean, my family, of course, well, they're white. It was a lot of, I grew up in racial isolation. Like, I think I was like maybe 15, 16 when I had like my first Black friend. She was Dominican. I met her at summer camp. And so for me, it was like, I just, that was my life, but like I knew it wasn't always going to be like that, because like I always like wanted to be around people that look like me, like always. So for me, it was just like always knew like as soon as I can, I'm going to leave, and I left home pretty young. I was like 17. I was like, ciao. Yeah. I never looked back, It's just like, why? I mean, why? Yeah. Because I love seeing people like me. I love it's important for me to see different types of people as well. So and then I didn't meet Ethiopians until I was like 23, I guess, after I went from Ethiopia. Like, wow. Like it was just like, crazy. But I think going back to like, again, for me as a child, it was just like, I was just adapting, so it's like, I always tell the story about, because we lived in the country, and, we would go grocery shopping in the nearest town. And sometimes there was like African immigrants from West Africa that would study at the university. So sometimes we would see them at the supermarket. And whenever like we would see somebody Black, my mom would be like, oh, look. Actually, she wouldn't point. She'd be like, look over there. And I'd be like pointing. She'd be like, don't point. But I'd like stare at them like that.
Like, why?
Yeah. And I remember I was like happy, but it was like, I was happy because somebody looked like me. But then, I mean, I would feel like sad after, because I would just realize like I'm missing that. Like I'm missing seeing people that look like me. But I think for me, again, it's sort of like when you're like when I was older and, was around like Black people, African people, I found like I started to like myself better. And I was like, this is what I'm missing. It's just like, it's very powerful to be around people that look like you. And again, like I didn't have negative experiences that I can remember where people were like, well, I think, there was like homeless people in the street that, call me the N-word randomly, but like, I don't care. But other,
not the homeless guy on the street. I always think those are the crazy ones. I say, you don't even got a house, but you still trying to talk crazy to me, sir.
Oh yeah, there was one. Actually, I was living in Ottawa because I was going to school there, and I was walking to school one day. It was like 8 a.m. I had an 8, and there was one man that like tried to corner me. Like I was walking, and then he like jumped in front of me and he yelled at me.
No.
But I was just like, what a idiot, and I walked away. Like it didn't even bother me. But
I'm gonna just let that one pass. I'm gonna let that one pass. So
right.
Faven said, not Ottawa. I said, I know, sis. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah. I know. But so again, like I think that being around people that look like me, it made me realize like this is what I'm missing. And so it was funny because when I was in my 20s, when I met like when I went to school, I had more like African friends, and then I met Ethiopians. It was like wow, like I missed this my whole life. And then I felt mixed emotions about it. Like I was happy, but then I was like angry, like I was kept from this. And then just like being around like, Ethiopians and like the ones that are here, they speak Amharic. So for me, it was just like sitting in a room, hearing people speak Amharic, and I'm just like I don't understand. Like it's strange. And it was hard for a few years. But then I was okay. This is just my experience.
Oh, I think you might have frozen a little bit. Okay. Oh, there you go.
No?
Can you
Okay.
you had made a comment about you hadn't met Ethiopians until you went to Ethiopia, and I know that that was a part of your journey of trying to find your family. So as you're getting more exposed to the people and the culture, I know that you went on a journey trying to, find answers, and you actually did end up going back to Ethiopia. Can you kind of elaborate on what that process of even looking for answers actually like what that actually means?
Yeah. So the first time I went back to Ethiopia, I think I was like 23, and I went with my boyfriend at the time, and that was just like, just to see the country. And then I went
Mm-hmm.
back. How old? I think it was like, was it 5 years ago? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Yeah, 2016. I went, and it was sort of like a I so I ended up having a few weeks off work, and I was like, and I met some adoptees from the Netherlands who lived in were living in Addis. So I was like, why don't I just go? So I decided like maybe 2 weeks before I'm going, and so it was sort of like, oh, it was a quick decision. Like, why don't I just
Yeah.
it was sort of like a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And so it was ridiculous though, because I was like, I know where I want to go,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm gonna do or how I'm gonna get there. But I was so I had this idea that I'm just gonna have somebody write my story, and I'm her, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, because where I was found was in Ibnat. It's outside of Gondar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just like show up in Gondar with like a paper in Amharic, because I don't speak it, and so I met up with like and he was like, "What are you ridiculous?" But I was like, I mean, but that's sometimes. Did my
I can I was like, I can still hear you, so
had this ridiculous idea. Oh, okay.
yeah. You're so funny. You really thought you're just gonna walk around with a piece of paper? Oh, you're so hilarious for that.
Is it working now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
hilarious.
Yeah, so it was kind of absurd, but I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna do this, and
Yeah.
he was like, no, no. And so actually, he helped. Like, his wife was very kind, and she was like, oh, I'll ask my cousin from Addis to like come with you, do the search, and and I mean, they were very generous, honestly. Like, she even like, yeah, she was very kind. So I went to do the search. I've never actually talked about it before, because it's such an experience that was close to my heart. But basically, I had different contacts like in Addis and Bahirda. And then with those contacts, I just like, we hitched a ride to go to Ibnat, and I don't know, like, everything just worked out. So we met like I guess like the mayor of Ibnat, and we were really well received, and I got to know everybody. Like, it was a really fascinating experience. But basically, when I was at Ibnat, like, they didn't really, like, they're like, okay, like, there's different Burhanus, but we think that the person that might be like your father, he lives like in and so so I was like, Wolo. And so they were like, just stay a few days, we're gonna have somebody like go and find them. And I was like, no, I'm gonna go. And
Yeah.
It's also like, for them, they're kind of like there's certain thing culturally you're not supposed to do, but like, I broke all the rules. Like,
Well, you didn't have to learn them. You know what I mean? So that's the perfect excuse.
Right.
I break the rules and I know them, sis. Okay.
I love that. So Yeah, so I actually ended up going to Wolo, and it was just a crazy experience. People were so kind, so kind. They bent over backwards to help me. Like, I'll always be grateful to those people, and for their help and generosity. So basically, we went. I don't even know where we went, because they were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to a village, and then you're gonna have to walk." So I was like, "Okay," and I just thought there would be like food at the village, but there wasn't. So basically, they off at the border of they dropped us off, I think, at Bondo and Wolo, and then like we walked like 7 hours without food. Like it was really like I it was
this
really
is what I'm saying. You were so bold.
crazy.
I wouldn't even do it.
No, but I mean, kind of crazy. At one point, because we had we paid for guys to help us go in the mountains, because we didn't know where we're going. And like at one point, like they kind of like changed their mind about things. They're like, "Oh no, like we can't go, we can't take her." And it was just like me and all like these men in the vehicle, and we're talking outside, and I was so mad. I got out, and I was like, "Look, I can't go all the way here." Like and everybody was like,
Ooh.
But I was like, I was smiling too. I was like, and then they're like, I have no idea what they're saying, but it worked, and so we went all the way to Wolo. Long story short, because there's a lot of things I could say, is that basically the man that I thought was my father had actually he was actually close to Ibnat, so we kind of went all that way for nothing.
Why would they take you on that goose chase, sis? Why would they? I swear, Habesha people, they will just go like, "Oh, this person said this, okay," and they'll just like run and do it. And I'm like, "Yo, can you guys call like 4 more people before we do all this?" But yes, go ahead, continue. You were determined, so it was gonna happen.
Yeah, it was just crazy. So it's like I went all that way. I came back, and then like to meet me, and I mean, it was really beautiful. But the thing is that like I felt like he was my father. So like funny, like it was just like, yeah, I had like such a good time with him, and like I helped out, like I felt, but I was like I took like because I took a swab, because I DNA test, and so I found this company that allows you to just like get the material yourself, and so I had him take a swab. I was like, I need to know if he's like my father. And I thought he was, and and it's funny because like when I connected with him, it's like I had plans. Like I'm like because he had other kids. Okay, I'm gonna like like these are my half, or like these are my siblings. Like I really felt like he like this was my family. And but I did the DNA test, and I found out he wasn't. That was really like, it was really hard. Like and it kind of took me a year to recover from that. And like doing like it took me a year that I really like this is killing me. I need to just stop everything. Because like I really want this, but like I have other things to do in my life too. Like I don't like, it's like that it was an expensive trip. Like like I cannot be do just don't have the money, but also like the time. Like this is like searching for a needle in a haystack. The thing too is like the story, like his story was similar to my story. There was things that were kind of like off, but I was like, who knows, so I think for me is like what I learned from that experience. Like I mean I learned a lot. I feel like the bond that I had with him was because like we both had a loss. And it's like I think we connected that because like it's like I wanted so much to like find my my blood, and he also lost a daughter to adoption. And so it was just like we connected on that. So I mean, it was a beautiful like bond, and made me like, he was really funny. I would tease him and like, I can't America, so it was a lot of fun. I sad. So I guess is meant to happen, then it's things are going to line up. But yeah, DNA testing is like, I think the way to go. So like, I encourage people to do like 23andMe, because
yeah, I was gonna say, can you let the people know? So everyone in the audience, especially if cough cough, if you're from Vegas, I need y'all to pay attention. She's gonna break something down to you. But I also want you to talk about the organization that you were telling me about that helps parents find their children that were adopted. So 2 things. So break down the DNA testing, and then let's break down that second part too.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, DNA testing, like 20. So I did 23andMe, and I was able to find some distant relatives, and a lot of them. So like, because the thing is, not everybody wants to disclose like where they're from and their names. But like, out of the ones who had given some information, like the majority were like Tigrayan, like Tigray, Tigray or Eritrea. And so there is somebody from Las Vegas who has initials HC, that needs to contact me, because we connected and I sent the person messages and they haven't responded. So if you're from Las Vegas and you did 23andMe, check your messages and send me a DM, because that's the one that is, because there's a lot of distant relatives, and that person was like one of the closer DNA relatives that I found.
So gotta link up. She's over here like, oh my gosh. She's so invested. She said, I think, I think she's my cousin. Oh shit, we might have found you some family. Lily, I'm gonna have you on here after, but sis, man. And she said, she also asked, she said, do you have any family in Texas? And she asked if you ever did find your biological father.
No, because this is the thing, is like, what I realized too is like the name that I have, like I don't even know if it's my name. Like I don't know if it's my real name, because it's like, I don't know. Like I just feel like, because on papers that's the name that was given to me, but like names are changed, documents are filed all the time, so I don't know if like actually my name or not. So what was I going to say about that? So yeah, I really, I don't know. So that's why I want more people to take DNA tests. So, Tagaru people, please take the DNA, because like, I'm speaking for me, but in reality, like, I mean, there is every week on Facebook, Ethiopian adoptee Facebook groups, there is people looking for their family. Like every day, people are like, I'm looking for my family. I'm looking for, and I get messages. People DM me like, can you find this person? So that's what I'm telling you. Take DNA tests, but also ask your families, because I think that like, maybe you might have a cousin who was given up for maybe your parents like gave a child up for adoption, because like there are stories like that where people like, I know actually, she's Tegaru, actually her mom, like she gave, well, there's a few of them actually, the mom gave the child, like had to give her child up, and then they immigrated, I think maybe to the UK or France, I'm not sure. So it's like who knows, your parents might have given you, like ask your family. I know people don't like to talk about this, but these are really important. Like, it's just, yeah, people are dying to connect with their families. And so there is an organization that does helps connect families in Ethiopia to adoptees and the reverse, and it's called Beteseb Felega, or Ethiopian Adoption Connection. And they offer like a free database where people, and it's crazy because like they have so many families coming forward looking for their kids. Like it's heartbreaking. It's like, so yeah, please, like it's like it's life changing. The parents and for for us as adoptees, because I think this is a like that I noticed with us like adoptees, like maybe we don't like, I don't know many Ethiopian adoptees who are as vocal as me. I'm like the loud one.
Yeah.
But like, and it's funny because it's like, am I really loud? Like I'm definitely loud for, I don't know. Anyways, but
before you
they all
move on,
want. Oh yeah.
Tagadu Link Up said the girl that contacted them on 23andMe, her name is Mahiret, and she's in Europe. Okay. Interesting. She might be on that Facebook group, or she might be connected to the group somehow, or connect her to the group. It's called Beteseb Felaga. I think is basically I think the rough translation is that like is find your family.
I think yeah. So yeah, definitely. And also like if you do when you do 23andMe, like make sure that you like check like turn on the notifications and put in your name, because this is a funny thing. Like the two cousins that I connected with, like I stalked them on LinkedIn. Like I was like,
it's okay, sis. It's like, okay. You needed answers. There's people who stalk us and it ain't got nothing to do with them trying to find family. Okay, so don't hold back.
Yeah, well, it's just funny because I was like, I know this is kind of like you're the cut I shared. And today I'm actually talking to one of my distant cousins right before. She's actually Eritrean, and she's from Nashville. And we're laughing about it. You for thinking that I'm not creepy, but yeah.
That must be an interesting phone call, though.
Huh?
I said that must be an interesting phone call. Like, hey, by the way, like, I think I'm your cousin. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, because the thing is, like, she probably went on her 23andMe and like confirmed, right? Yeah, but I mean, she was like, very happy. I think, like, I mean, there's actually quite a few that haven't went back to me. I don't know if they're like, oh, I don't, I have too many cousins, I don't want another one, or maybe they just like,
we all have fake cousins. Okay, we all have fake cousins.
But that's why when I write them, I'm like, I'm an adopted person, like,
yes.
because I know it's probably
real,
like.
I'm all the only reason why I'm laughing is because we talked about this, and I was just saying, for those of you in the background, I'm just kidding. We were saying not only is the DNA test important for like adoptees to find each other, it's important for us to not marry our cousins. Like, there's too many of these stories where you're not 100% sure. So that's the only reason why I was laughing. But I'm just thinking of the interaction too of being like just behind the keyboard, like, yes, like trying to like contact these people and then getting the message like, what the heck, I got a cousin, like actually like connecting in that way. I'm just imagining that because I'm a very visual person, so I had a whole little movie in my head, so it's just like, whoa. But it's a lot. I think it's also something to pause about, because when you're reaching out and like there's like I'm expecting that there's like a level of excitement, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I found somebody that I'm related to, I'm connected. And then when you're not getting a response, it's like, damn, like it's heartbreaking. So I just want to give you your flowers of like continuously like searching, and then even just advocating and sharing your story so that more people can learn about this, because it is a lot, because we kind of brushed over it, but even just thinking about like your identity, and what that means. Like we're in this space right now where we're thinking about our Ethiopian identity, and that's traumatic for a lot of us. But you're like discovering this place, and then like getting kind of inklings of things like, okay, I'm from here, I'm from the north, I'm this or whatever, and you're trying to put it together just for us to end up in another war. Like it's just a continuous cycle of just trauma.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
mean,
paused again.
yeah, there's my connection is.
I could have sworn our friendly neighbors in the north, the Canadians, had it better than us, but it's okay. Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah. Okay, you can see me. Okay, is it you can hear me? Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
With the war, it like so for me, like I knew, I was from like ethnic makeup, but I was always curious about that, and I would ask people, and
Mm-hmm.
like people were hesitant to tell me or to just talk about it, and I knew that identity was like politicized. But for me, it wasn't because like I think that I'm better than anybody else because I'm from the north, like because I know that is a thing. It was really just like I actually want to know like where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just been yeah, ethnicity, I know it's like very taboo, and I always try to talk about it, and then kind of like stop because I was like, okay, like this is like a touchy issue. And I really enjoy talking about taboo issues, by the way. Like I love that.
Me too. Why do you think I
So
don't care? People really just be looking at me crazy sometimes. I'm like, are we gonna talk about it, or are you guys gonna keep wondering about it and just be curious? Like, let's
yeah,
bring it out to the open. Let's bring it to the forefront. Like,
yeah.
think about it. We're talking about famine. We're talking about war. This is a reoccurring theme in our country. So why are we completely ignoring all these people who get internally displaced? And what do we think happens to the children that lose their parents? You know what I mean? Like they get separated somehow for whatever the reason. It's like they end up somewhere. Things happen to them. They're real people. And it's like now that you're an adult, you can bring that perspective to light. How many people are posting about famine every day? Like, if I were you, I'd be triggered even trying to be like in this movement. And the fact that like you're able to own your story and who you are and like this part of your journey and still be able to show up every day and like keep fighting for us and keep, you got connected to the Canadians and y'all have been like really putting shit together. And it's just like, to me, it's just like completely amazing. Like, it's just completely amazing to see how you're showing up in this time. And I really could care less like what anybody feels about the politics of it. Like you shared with me and you can share with them. It's something in your spirit that moves you.
Yeah, yeah. This is the thing, is that for me, like when the war, like when I heard that it was like happening, like the feeling that I had was like, I mean, I don't really have words for it, but I felt awful for the first 6 weeks. But I think the first like 3 weeks, it was awful. Like I could not I was like crying all the time. Like, I was like taking my son to daycare, wiping my eyes, and it was like, it was really like, I was trying to talk to people and like crying, and I was like arguing with people, because I was like crazy, because I felt it like, it's not a head thing. Like, I'm from the north, I don't know where, but like it's here. Like, because bodied feeling like this is like I've gone through this before. before. My people have gone through this. And so, yeah, that's why I go hard, because like, and also because I knew that this was going to be bad. I felt it. Like, it's like, I would argue with people like, who were like, oh, like, it's just going to be like, and it's like, well, that's like messed up that you think that. And I was wanting to like chop people's, not really.
It's
So
okay, sis. I be feeling it every day. I just keep it calm. I just keep it calm, but I feel it.
Yeah, like for me, it's just like, but I was like, this is like it. This is, I felt it. I knew it. Maybe like if I'm for something, I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
Like you can, I'm still fight.
Yeah.
I have that, and so
they say you can take the girl out of
like,
Tigray, but you can't take Tigray out the girl. You better say that. Amen. Tap 2 times.
Well, well, yeah. I mean, I do feel that. It's like, learning about, about like the, Wayani. I'm like, oh, like, I really relate to that. Like that's me. Like, cause I was always like a little rebellious, and, I'd get spankings for being mouthy, and, it was like, I just like had that. And it's like,
yeah,
I don't know where it came from. And so I don't know. I relate to that like, fighter spirit. I do. But I mean, like, so I just, yeah, I was extremely upset, and I was like, this is I want to get involved,
Yeah. And you didn't hesitate. Like, you didn't hesitate. You reached out to me, and I was like, oh, I got you. I was like, Faye was in here. She was like, she does so much for Canada. And it's just like, it's just a matter of like connecting people to a system, a group of people who want to do the same thing, and it's just been amazing. And I say that too. So for those of you who are not really aware, like, you don't give yourself the flowers, but just even, I can't remember the numbers, but you were just telling me about how, mental health is such a big thing because of this identity crisis, the anger and the grief process, right? Because you have to grieve this life that you could have had that was taken away from you. So like, that's what I heard in terms of like how you were explaining, like being happy but angry and having all of this, right? But it's like, how many adoptees don't make it? Like, that really breaks them. And the numbers you were sharing were pretty staggering. I'm trying to like look at it, but if you remember off the top of your head, it was a lot. Like, it was a lot of people suffering from this. I think it was somewhere around, I think it was something around 300,000. I'm trying to look in the email that you sent me, but
yeah, well, I know, I mean, with like for adoption, like pathologizing us, but the like the research is there. It's not like the research is there that adoptees have like struggle a lot with mental health issues. And I mean, that's like, like depression, anxiety, like, what is it called? Like, not, what is it called? Like, not like you end up in like a mental, like health.
Like psychosis?
Psychosis,
like having...
yeah. Yeah, like, like dependency, like alcohol, drugs, like delinquency, like everything bad, like it's awful. Like, when I was doing the research, it's, I mean, I hear that because, I follow people that study adoption. But I also know it from being in the, like, adoptees are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. And that is like than people who aren't adopted. And I don't even have to look at that statistic because, like, every week it seems like somebody's dying, like somebody's killing them. And so, like, this is it's very difficult, and it's like, because people are like, you're so lucky because you're adopted, but they kind of neglect to really see that the loss that people, like the loss that adoptees feel. And adoptees also, like, we don't like talking about it. Like, you know, it took me like, I wasn't till my, you know, it took me, you know, I was like, I guess 26 or something when I was like, I could talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, there is a lot of like loss and a lot of, and like, you know, there's guilt and like, you want to feel grateful because people tell you like, you should be grateful to be adopted. So there's a lot of like,
well,
you know,
you know what I hear? Let me help you here. This is what makes, you know, because I got the anger for all of us. What I hear when people say that, like this whole idea of I should be grateful for what? Grateful for the fact that my country was at war and that I got ripped apart from the family I knew for no reason. Like, you know what I mean? Like, two things can be true. Like, you can be grateful that you're safe and that you're alive, right? But you don't have to be grateful for the circumstances that put you there to begin with. Like, I don't think that's an identity that we would just have chosen for ourselves had we been given the option. So I don't know. I find that personally offensive, and I'm not adopted. So I can imagine, like, when people tell you that too as a kid and all the time, it's like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be grateful for it because everyone tells me I'm supposed to be grateful. And it's like, no, address the problems that put these kids in this freaking position. Like, that's what I get mad about, personally.
and I mean, I'm happy.
Why.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sis.
You know, yeah, I like that you have that, like, a lot of the time you kind of have to convince people. And so I'm just happy when.
Oh no, you broke up.
You know, we don't leave, we're taken. And you know, things happen. Like, if there wasn't the famine, if there wasn't the war in like.
Hey, we're gonna get you some new.
You know,
Wi-Fi
people
too,
like to make the argument. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was just saying we're gonna.
It's like it's terrible.
And we're gonna give Canada a break, but this is the same thing. When Tory Lanez used to go on live, we used to be like Comcast. So I'm officially assuming it's Canada. It's the problem. But
wow, I didn't. Yeah. This, but
okay, I think you're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it okay? But yeah, exactly. Like, if there hadn't been a war, I would have been separated from my family. So I do like to always bring it back to the politics and how it destroys families bigly, because it's like I'm kind of permanently separated from my family. Like, I hope that I will find them, but you know, it's because I kind of like, because there was, I mean, I've been sad. I was like, I guess I kind of like suppressed how I felt, and then I let it out, and then I was like devastated and like angry and sad and depressed for a long time and angry. And then I kind of had to just like let it go, because it was just going to, like, you know, I couldn't live. So I couldn't live. I couldn't be healthy and happy. So I had to make a decision, like, you know, for myself. Like, I have to let this go. But I mean, I still, you know, but then it's like, you know, I still would like it to happen, but I sort of detach myself from the outcome. But yeah, I would love to meet them. And, you know, it's like, I feel like, you know, there's some adoptees that don't feel that way. They're like, I don't care to know. And I'm like, I wish I could kind of be like, my life easier if I didn't care. If I was just like, oh, I'm just going to live my life in Canada and, you know, or like, you know, travel, but it's like, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of me is like, do you really not care? Or are you just like afraid of the outcome? So like what you're saying too, of like having to detach yourself from that, that's really powerful. Like, it's really a powerful thing to make that decision for yourself. You know what I mean? And to like choose you, like choose yourself. and choose your life, because everything else was chosen for you. And it's like you made a very like strong and brave decision to be like, okay, the first part of my life I didn't have a choice in, but this next part of my life I definitely have a choice in. And so
Yeah.
I'm amazed.
Right.
I'm beyond proud of the fact that you were able to do that. Like, that's a big thing.
But you know, I forgot to tell you that I changed my name. And
Yes, you were talking to me about that.
I changed my name because my name was not, I mean, Kassaye was my middle name. But it was like the name that I went by, and Bohanu was not, you know, but I had it changed. So, because to take back what was mine. So yeah, my legal name is like Kassaye Bohanu McDonald, and I have McDonald because it's, you know, it's my family's name, and you know, they were part of my experience, so I kept it. I didn't keep it like to be nice. I just kept it because, like, for sake of like history, you know, people could my great grandchildren can know, like, well, if I have great, you know, they'll know, like, okay, like my comes from somewhere, you know. I really believe in, and I purposely put Bohanu on there for that purpose. And also with my birthday, like, you know, I hate my birthday. They gave me like January 1st, and I was like, I hate that date. And
they gave you the 5 birthday. I'm so tired of us. They couldn't be a little bit creative.
I know, I was sad, and you know, I was like, as a kid, people were always like, you know, like, baby, and I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I always hated it. I always told them, and so I just decided, like, I'm just gonna create my own birthday. And so every year I change my birthday, which really annoys people because they're like, when's your birthday this year? And I'm like, I haven't decided yet. Am I a Libra, or, you know, am I
not your astrology sign.
I'm too mean to be I don't know.
Sis, I love it. No, I love it. You know me, I don't care. Choose whatever day you want. Okay? Well, choose whatever day.
Well, yeah, because, you know, it was late. It was like late 85. I say between like October and December. So you know, I make it like in November or December. You know, but I was like, oh, let me try to be like October, like Libra. But I'm like, I'm not a Libra. You know, like I keep changing it because like no date really suits me. Every year
I would choose October, because November, you know, everybody's over here hyped about Thanksgiving. You know, it's kind of one of those fast months, and it just takes over people's, like, you know, it's not really fair. And then like December, same thing. It's like the holidays, so your birthday gets overshadowed, and then people will feel like they could give you 2 presents at once, and it's like, no, sweetheart, you need all the presents, all of them.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I tried doing that, but then I find, like, when I made my birthday, like, mid-December, like, nobody showed up. No, I had people that showed up, and people would be like, I'm Christmas shopping. And so I was like, you know.
I'm telling you, sis, the holidays ain't it. It ain't it.
So like, this year, well, it was COVID, but I chose, like, the Day of the Dead. That was, like, my birthday. So I, like, I thought that was a powerful day. But I actually like October is a very it's a really sad month for me. And I talked about it with a few other people, and they're like, oh, sometimes I get kind of like depressed and sad a month before my birthday. So I was like, oh, because I've hated October like since I was an adult. I don't know. So maybe I was actually born in November. I don't know. But I think I'll just keep like changing my date until it
feels right.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, celebrate the whole month. Who cares? Oh, my Canadians are making fun of me. They said we have a different Thanksgiving. My bad. This is the problem with being American. We only think about ourselves. We forget that y'all don't have the same holidays as us. It's actually really embarrassing. Like, being from California, like, for the longest time, I couldn't tell you where any of these states were. I was like, New York, Texas, like, Seattle?
Oh, really?
Not even Washington State. I would say Seattle. Like, I was like, everybody else, I was like, y'all just in the middle. Like, you know what I mean? You just didn't care. Yeah. But that's a story for another day. That's so funny though. Yes, choose a month. Who cares? Like, it's these things, right? Like these little things that we take for granted. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you really have to choose for yourself, and you have to like experience all of it. But you know what? When you were saying that, I was thinking of the book. I think it's The Body Keeps the Score, and it's like, I don't know if you. Oh, did you read it? Because you're like.
Well, actually, I bought it for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I bought it for somebody, but I need to buy a copy for myself. But
Yeah.
yeah, tell because I haven't read it.
I haven't. I only skimmed through because you know how I had it on my Amazon, so I did the you know how they give you the pre-trial or whatever, and you get like the first chapter. But essentially, the concept, though, even in psychology, it's the same concept. It was just this idea that like your body remembers the trauma that you experienced, and like the things that you can't verbalize or the things that you don't acknowledge. Or work through like will continuously show up. So like your body will ache in different places for whatever the reason. Like there's things like medically like you'll be like, but my back hurts and my back, and they can run all the tests, but like they won't find the problem because the problem is not actually in your body, body, it's in your mind. So a lot of people, especially lately, I feel like in the last couple of decades, have been putting more emphasis on neuroscience, and they're trying to connect that idea that your thoughts connect to your actions. And like if you really do think about it, our brain is what makes the rest of our body functions. So if there's trauma there, there's going to be like it's going to show up in your body because it's messing with how your brain is functioning. So I would recommend it. I'm still going to read through that book because I learned it in my studies, but I think it's cool that there's even a book out there specifically on that for people to learn from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up because it's like on my list of books to read to
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
I like what I forget his name, Bessel and something, but yeah, I know like some of his quotes, and I'm like, yes, this sounds good. So yeah.
I live by that. I live by it. But no, man, this has been a lot. Like my audience is probably like mind blown, my people, and it's just I don't know. It's a lot, and I'm so grateful that you reached out and we were able to connect. And I knew instantly when you reached out, I was like, oh, I gotta have her on the podcast. I didn't know when it was gonna happen, but I was like, oh, I have to have her on the podcast because we don't think about this enough. And I want you to connect, and I want people to connect to you. I want you to like have the community you never got to have growing up, and I'm so glad that you've been able to like connect with the other Canadians. Like I'm like, yes, like you know what I mean, like minor not minor but major win. And like hopefully as we continue this, y'all take your 23andMe. I saw a couple people in the comments like they're gonna do it. So what I want us to leave off on is we kind of alluded to it a little bit, but what I've been asking all my guests is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh,
I know. I love this question. It's like y'all know that it's coming and y'all still don't. It's still just like, ooh.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking like, what question is she gonna? And I forgot that you like that's what my legacy. Well, I mean, I would I guess just like having families reconnect and just and I felt like and like adopted people, I guess in particular, that they feel like that like whatever going through like is important, and they because I when I did the podcast, like I would get a lot of messages and people would say like, wow, like this podcast changed my life. And for me, just hearing that, oh, like my work is done, like I can die now.
Yeah.
Because it's like that is like, and one adoptee, she is she's Puerto Rican, I guess. She sent me like her she wrote a book about her connecting with her family in Puerto Rico. And it's just like that is I'm happy. If I can bring happiness to people, and not just like happiness, but like when people can just like feel validated and feel like good about themselves and can, you know, that is my work is done, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's just that, like, that would, you know, people remember me in a way like, wow, she added something to my life.
That's
I guess
so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. There's a couple of comments. They said they want you to write a book. So you're walking in your purpose. I completely agree. I love when people answer that question, because that's what I want them to realize is like, you're already doing it. Like, you don't even notice it because you don't pay attention to like all the things. We don't sit here and make a list of all the people that we help and all these different things. But something that when you were talking really struck me was that there's people like me and you who go through trauma, who go through difficult things, and instead of turning into bitter people, we turn into warriors, and we turn into people who can turn around and make sure that that doesn't happen to the next person, and to like help people find their healing and get to that place of like, yo, that shit was trash. What happened to you was trash, but it happened to you. It's not you. Your identity is not rooted in something that was done to you. And it's like this survival, survivor mentality to have, and then to turn around and like, instead of spreading hate, you're spreading like love and joy and trying to connect and trying to like leave the world better. Like, that is, to me, I don't know, maybe it's the definition of resiliency that I've been trying to figure out. So I'm so happy that you came on and that you connected.
Funny.
Go ahead.
I hope that it doesn't come out, because I feel like, you know, this is really important. When I was thinking about talking with you today, I was like, there's so many things that we could talk about, because it's such a huge topic, and like, I love talking to you. You're amazing. And I was like it's a very dark topic, but people to know, especially because of the to not hold like hate art, you know, because that destroys you. Me, like, and you know, just seeing people, it is like, you know, anger and hate, like, it's in your heart, like, because it destroys you. And so I love what you're saying about like love, choose love for yourself, speak kindly to yourself, like, because the thing is, those people, like, they're gonna be fine. Like, you destroy yourself. And I'm saying that from my own experience with being very angry, and like that anger that I felt, like, I turned that inward. And so and that is the worst you can do, because those people, they walk away.
Exactly.
And then it's with you.
Exactly. That part.
Yeah.
I said that too. My therapist put me onto that quote. He said, staying angry or holding on to anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. And that's literally what you just explained. So, and I keep sharing that over and over to people. So it's amazing. And I'm, like I said, extremely glad that you were able to come on. And I'm very intentional about my guests. And when I say this, I hope this doesn't become a cliche thing. It's like, you are always welcome. Like, you are always welcome to come on here. I think this is a topic that we can come from different angles and share on. And I want like people to think about that. And, you know, adoption is not a scary topic. Like, the more we talk about it, like, the better it will be for all of us. So thank you again so much for coming on. I think everyone said they loved the topic today. So I'm glad y'all enjoyed. And you know, just keep sharing your story, because I promise you're gonna be changing a lot of people's lives. So thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and end this live. I think we did a good time. So
yeah, thank you so much for you. You're so happy to like know you and what you're doing in your work. It really, like, I connected with your personality and just like how genuine you are, and like loving, and you know, you tell it like it is, and I love that. So congratulations for you. and may just continue and grow. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good note to leave off on. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. We love you all. Thank you. Make sure y'all share it. I'm about to post it on the page. And yeah, everybody have a good night.